Hey, welcome, fellow human beings, to the podcast Addiction, Abuse, Recovery by Matt Logan Speaks. I am Matt Logan. However, I'm not going to be your host. Our host for this podcast is Sherry Irvin, who has personal, unfortunate experience with addiction and abuse, but she has been in recovery for more than 8 years now. Part of Matt Logan Speaks, we want to just share other people's stories in the hopes that it will help you through your day, that it's just another tool in your toolbox to get you through the day. So please help me welcome your host, Sherry Irvin.
Hi everyone, welcome to Addiction, Abuse, and Recovery. My name is Sherry Irvin. With me today I have special guest star Amanda Cox. Amanda is a woman living in long-term recovery. She is a single mom of a beautiful 11-year-old daughter. Amanda is a lawyer that works in the human services capacity. And I also have it on good note that she has started her own written blog to empower women such as herself. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Amanda Cox. Hi, Amanda. Thank you so much for coming today.
Hi, Sherry. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am too. I'm so happy that you're here. So basically, just to kind of start out with a short version of it, if you could kind of tell me in the audience a little bit about your journey and where it's taken you and what you're doing to empower other women such as yourself and what your future endeavors are.
Sure. Happy to. So I was actually born and raised right here in Rochester, and I went to school here, and my drinking started out at an early age, 13, 14 years old. I was drinking. High school was drinking. College was drinking. I really enjoyed college because everybody was drinking, so I really just felt like I fit in real well there. But then after my undergraduate studies, which were at University of Minnesota Duluth, I went on to William Mitchell College of Law. That was a different atmosphere than the undergraduate college, so drinking wasn't as acceptable to the extent that I was doing it. So instead of being part of the crowd with my drinking, I was more outcast with my drinking. And that was very difficult for me. And I then also went on to start using drugs at that point in time in my life. So things kind of went from bad to worse when I added that into the mix. Long story short, I moved back to Rochester after law school. I did graduate miraculously. Not as much miraculously. Us addicts and alcoholics were really good at manipulating things to our, benefit. So I did a lot of that to get by. But came back to Rochester, and wherever you go, there you are. So the drinking and using didn't stop just because I came back to Rochester. So I did get my second DUI not too long after I'd moved back here. And through that and through the court system, it was recommended that I go to a chemical dependency assessment. So I did that, and I prepped myself up for that to know I can't tell them I don't drink at all. Clearly, I do. I have a few minors and a couple DUIs now, but I can't tell them too much. Because, in my mind, these people think that someone who just drinks once a week's an alcoholic, and I don't want them to deem me that. So I had it all planned out. All planned out what I was going to say. And when I got in there, I told them more than I thought I would, but only a sliver. And they wanted me inpatient right away. And I was in such denial at the time. It just seemed so odd to me that you want me inpatient, and I didn't even tell you half of it. So I did have to, I talked my way out of inpatient into outpatient, because again, we're really good at that.
Good at that.
Not to mention, obviously, I'd graduated from law school, so I have a few persuasion skills up my sleeve as well. So I did do outpatient treatment, and through that treatment and hearing everybody else's stories, because recovery really is a group dynamic and a group process, I started to realize I was an alcoholic and a drug addict, and I did have a problem that I needed to do something about. That's where my recovery began. still very stubborn and still very much wanting to do things the way I wanted to do things. So in the beginning of my recovery, I decided I was going to do the steps, do my recovery my way, not the way it's suggested. It's just a suggestion, right? So I sponsored myself for 3 years.
Oh, my.
How I remained sober during that time, again, I'm not sure, because as you know, drinking and using are just our solution to our problems, you know. So all I did was take away my solution, and I still had all these problems. And I was just like, what's going on? I stopped drinking, I stopped using, I'm sober, and life's really not getting that much better. Of course, things get a little bit better when you know your job likes it when you show up now, right? So I'm doing well at work, but as far as most things in my life, I'm not feeling better on the inside. I'm not feeling better as a person. And I did get to a point that it was, I might as well just start drinking again because this isn't working. So I did reach out to another female in recovery when I had that thought. And she said, why not try a sponsor? Why not try it? You know, what do you have to lose? You're ready to drink again. So I did. I then tried sponsorship, and wow, that changed my life. The steps changed my life, and recovery changed my life. And it was funny because the very first thing I realized in working with the sponsor was it's a we program. So I used to, even reading the steps where it said we, I said I. In my head, I was saying I, because again, there's my selfishness, right? It's all about me. That was huge. That's groundbreaking. It's not just me. I'm not alone anymore. I have a whole recovery community there to help me. And that's so important. It's so important to have that. So I've been attending AA meetings, NA meetings, you know, since my sobriety date, which is August 31st of 2007.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And also sponsoring other women, which is, it's so amazing to watch the light go on, you know, in their eyes and in their life, and for them to go, oh, wow, I don't have to drink and use anymore. You know, there's a life in recovery, because I struggled so much with, what am I going to do if I don't drink and use? That's what I do with everything. I mean, family functions, you know, holidays, camping, everything revolved around it. Mm-hmm. You know, Sundays, Mondays, Tuesdays. Everything was, that's what I did. Mm-hmm. What's recovery going to be like then? And it's amazing. It's amazing because I'm now actually in the moment, and I'm now actually experiencing these things in my life. Mm-hmm. So the other amazing part about recovery is the tools that they give you, because like we just said, it's alcohol and drugs were our solution, or my solution, to the problems I was having. Mm-hmm. Recovery gave me tools to cope with those problems without having to resort to alcohol and drugs. Because guess what? Problems don't go away. You just don't have this all of a sudden ever, you know, happily ever after life because you get sober. And I've definitely encountered many challenging events in my sobriety and my recovery. And I will say it's my recovery that got me through those events and definitely helped me stay strong to the point that you can sometimes. Because I know all those cliches that people say, that in the beginning I would just roll my eyes and say, ugh, would you stop saying things like, this too shall pass. Stop it. I don't want to hear you say that again. Like, yeah, I get it. Or everything works out in the end. And if it hasn't worked out, it's not the end. Stop. I say those things to myself over and over again when I deal with challenging situations because they're true. And we know that because we've lived that. And those are the types of messages we get to share with other women. It doesn't have to be sponsorship. We meet so many people in recovery.
Yes, we do.
And we get to share our experiences with them. I've had opportunities to speak and tell my story at meetings, and every single time there's at least one other woman afterwards that comes up and says, that was my story too. At least bits and pieces of it. That was my story too. Mm-hmm. And where you are right now is where I want to be. Yeah. And you get to go, well, guess what? You can be. You can get there. Just stay here in these rooms and keep coming back, and you can get there. So today, I don't practice as a lawyer, so I have my license to practice law. But my degree and my license did get me where I am today in regard to my career. And I had a section of a large organization that handles employee disability benefits. So we're dealing with people who have physical injuries, but sometimes mental, emotional, and substance abuse issues as well. And getting their pay protection to them. So it's challenging, it's rewarding, it's my career. It's one of those careers that doesn't stay in the office when you leave the office. It stays with you all the time. You live it. And that's fine. That's the kind of career that I want to have too. And my most important job, I'm a single mom. It's me and my daughter, and she's so amazing. She's so amazing. And my recovery is what helps me be a good mother. Mm-hmm. So I luckily I had Olivia when I was sober. So I've never had to experience active addiction while being a parent. I can't imagine what that struggle would feel like. But there's recovery. And in recovery, you can be an amazing parent. And I am so grateful for the tools I learned in recovery. Not to get too emotional here. Happens when I talk about my daughter. That I get to share those with her, because the tools that we learn are not just for people in recovery, right? So everything we're learning is just how to live your life on life's terms. Everyone can use those skills. Everyone can. It's just that those of us in addiction have to. We reached some sort of bottom that the pain was great enough to force us to want to put the work in, to live a better life, to have to learn how to live life on life's terms and use those tools. And I get to teach those tools to my daughter at a young age, so she's going to grow up with them. Because as a parent, it's very fearful that she's going to end up being an alcoholic and an addict too, because both of her parents are. Her father was in her life until she was about 8. She's 11 now. And then he relapsed and has been MIA since then, which was terrible for her and for me. I mean, I care about him, and other alcoholics and addicts. We don't want to see that happen. But so it's in her blood. And to be able to teach her the tools that I have now early on, I feel lessens her chances of getting into alcoholism and addiction, which is I'm so thankful for. I'm so thankful for being able to teach her those tools.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
she's an amazing, amazing girl. I've had the opportunity to meet her, and she's just, the lessons that you are going to instill in her, she's going to remember that. And being a single mom is not easy. And then being a single mom and then living life on life's terms. I mean, you have had a quite the 2019, quite the rough year, and now we're kind of coming into this. You've had to overcome some major trials and tribulations, and I am so proud of you because I also know that you have started a blog, and as you know, I'm a blogger, and there is so much power to somebody that takes up the pen.
Yes.
And to get that message out there, writing has been an incredible tool for me. So, what made you decide to, take on that endeavor besides everything else that you're doing?
So I have been told, I don't know how many times in my life, you need to write a book. You need to write a biography book because the things that happen in your life they just don't happen to people, at least not all of them, and boom, 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 oh, lucky me. And it just kind of hit home. I went through something extremely traumatic and painful in 2019 in a relationship that was abusive that resulted in a short 3.5 month marriage. And I just, going through the pain that I went through with that, going through the pain I watched my daughter go through with that. And there was kind of a moment at one point in time where I was hiding. I was trying to hide my pain from my daughter and be strong and teach her how to be a strong woman, because we all want to be strong women, right? But what does that really mean to be a strong woman? Does crying make you not a strong woman? Does feeling pain make you not a strong woman? No, I think those are just things that society tells us, that then we're weak if we express emotion and cry and tell someone, I'm hurting. This really hurts. That doesn't make you not a strong woman. And I realized when I was hiding all of that from her, I can't cry around her. I don't want her to know that I'm upset. I want her to know that you can deal with these things. It's okay. And I'm like, no, I need to teach her how to feel pain. And it's okay. It's okay to feel that pain. And so I did. And I cried in front of her. And I told her when I was hurting. And she watched me go through quite a bit. And there were days that it hurt really bad. And there were days I felt okay for no reason. You just didn't really know what you were going to get. But I taught her that that's okay to feel that. And it's actually important to feel pain. Because as humans, we naturally avoid pain. We do what we can to not feel pain. It's another reason that we end up as alcoholics and addicts, because we are numbing our pain. Who teaches you what to do with pain, right? That's not a topic that people usually talk about. So I wanted to tell her and show her, feel it, embrace it. Really feel it. It's not going to stay forever. It's not going to feel like that forever. And pain is a necessary investment for growth. So when it hurts like it does, you got to keep telling yourself it's because your higher power is taking you somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be good. Mm-hmm. And you just have to deal with this right now. And it makes it just a little bit easier, knowing that. And one of the reasons we don't grow when we are stuck in our addiction and our alcoholism is because we're avoiding pain. And we're not growing. We're just running. Mm-hmm. So as I taught Olivia, she goes by Liv, so I should probably say Liv in case she ever watches this. I taught Liv, feel it, show it, tell people, it's okay. And then I thought, that's what I need to do. I'm feeling it. I've learned that much. I need to show it. I need to show other people it's okay to feel it. And what do you do with it? When you have this pain, what do you do with it now? Well, you use it. You use it to grow to the next level. You use it to push you to do things you wouldn't have done if you weren't feeling that pain. Because pain is a great motivator, right? So I wanted to share that with people. And I decided, I don't know that I have time to write a book, maybe someday, but blogs are, they're out there. And if anyone wants to share in my journey, or, if other women are feeling certain ways and they get something off of what I'm writing, it's worth it. If one person does, I've had people reach out and say, thank you so much for saying that, because I've felt that way, and it's nice to know I'm not alone. It's nice to know I'm not the only one that feels that way. It's nice to know, alcoholism, addiction haven't been my only issues in life. I've dealt with body image issues very much, and never feeling like I look good enough to society's standards. I've had, I don't know if you would say I'd had an eating disorder. I'm sure it would probably be diagnosed that way if I'd ever talked to anyone about it back in college. And it's a control thing. I can control what I'm eating. I can control then what my body looks like, and then I can look better, and then I can feel better. I don't think a lot of people talk about that either. Especially, it's hard as a woman to say, I don't feel like I look good, and I don't like this part of my body or that part of my body. And we see all of these images everywhere, social media, of everyone that looks so perfect. And I want to look like that. And I want to have, her abs and her hair, and we can make ourselves look any way we want to with all the technology they have today. And that's another thing I wanted to share with women. I know how to pose to make my body look the best way it can. Why wouldn't I put those types of pictures out there? Why would I want to show a picture that's not flattering? Well, guess what? So is everybody else. So when you're sitting there comparing, I have this like fat here, and I have this here, and you're looking at these images on social media, they might have the same things. They just aren't showing them. So there's the body image issues, the recovery issues. There's going through an abusive relationship with a narcissist. Also, I haven't talked about that a lot on my blog because it's so fresh. I wanted to make sure I was bringing it from the right place and not from anger that I may still be holding on to about it because it hasn't been that long. But I plan to talk more about that because I know, I have people in my life dealing with very similar situations right now, and watching it from the outside is awful, and it feels helpless, and I want to help those people.
So if one wants to read and get in touch with your blog, is it on WordPress, or how would they be able to access your blog?
I blog on Instagram
Okay.
right now. So Rise of the Lotus is my Instagram name. And there's symbolism behind that because the lotus flower is one that, rises up from the murky, muddy under the water, and they rise towards the surface and the sun. And once they get there, they bloom.
Yes.
That's recovery right there. So,
well, You are blooming, for considering what you've come back from, and like I said, speaking earlier, you've had a banner couple of years, and it's been a pleasure. I've gotten to know you in the whole years that have in my own sobriety, and I see you empowering other women as well, and what you've done with your daughter is absolutely incredible. I love the fact that you are starting the blog. I think that can be so beneficial to so many women. So I really appreciate you coming here and sharing your story, because it's vulnerable. You really get vulnerable. I mean, when you're sharing that deep stuff, and it is emotional. So I really appreciate you being here, and absolute pleasure. Good luck on everything that you're doing. Keep shining, and I'm just so happy that you were here. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to today's podcast of Addiction, Abuse, Recovery, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'm sure you did, as I did. I want you to know that if you want to follow along, just go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube and Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Apple Podcast. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just search out Matt Logan Speaks. We have all kinds of great content for you. Hit the notifications button so that when something new comes up, you're the first to know. Have a great day.